the average American is spending 15.6 hours of their week on social media. Am I going to sit here and say, get off of social media altogether? No, I'm not. Although I certainly would support you if you did. I'm talking to you about how I outwork and outpace people by setting up my life in a particular manner. And I just want to give you some of those numbers of things that you can do. If you get up a half an hour earlier a day, you have added 182 hours to your year. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are talking about how I get more done than most people do in their week. Now, this recently came up on a podcast episode with the Cheer Mom podcast, and I have been a business owner for the last 13 years. I own a competitive cheerleading gym in Oregon. I am the owner and founder of Dream Camps, doing summer cheerleading camps throughout the country, throughout the summer, as well as choreography throughout the year. And I am a owner of Next Generation Gym Owners, doing business coaching and consulting for cheer gym owners. We work as a company with over 115 gyms right now, and I personally coach over 20 gyms in how to be more productive, bring in more revenue, and run a better cheer gym and live the life of their dreams. And I was talking to the Cheer Mom on her podcast, and we were actually discussing my career in law enforcement. I was talking about how I had worked for 15 years as a police officer while coaching and then while running my gym, and then becoming an owner and founding Dream Camps, becoming an owner in Next Generation Gym Owners, and starting to do all of the business coaching through Next Gen, all while being a police officer. And I happen to have a family, my beautiful wife, Tori. I have my 3 children, and I have a lot of other things going on in my life. So I'm a very busy person. And she jokingly said, "How do you get it all done? Do you just never sleep?" I sarcastically responded, that was it. I just didn't sleep a lot. And to some extent, there is a sacrifice of sleep that I've given up during my career. There were years where I worked graveyard and I worked all night long, and then I would go home and sleep a little bit and then get up and start working on the gym and coaching and doing all those other things and kind of rinse, repeat, and restart it again. But I started thinking about, what is it that I do that makes it so I can produce at a level that most people don't understand? And I hear this all the time. We had our parent mixer the other night, and I had just gotten back from Vegas the day before, where I was at a business workshop where we were working on scaling Next Gen and improving our offerings. I had a parent who was asking, what we were up to and what we were doing. And I told them, and they said, how do you even do it all? You do so much. I feel like you're just always going, but you seem young, you seem like you're still excited. And I have some tricks and some tips for you. And I do still feel young, and I do still feel excited, and I do still feel energetic. And one of the reasons is because I love what I do. So that certainly makes it a little bit easier. But I want to get into some actions of what it is that I really do to make it so I can outwork many of the other people I am competing against, because that ultimately is what it comes down to. First off, I want to talk some numbers very specifically. And so there are 168 hours in a given week. This is how many hours we have a week to get life done. We all have the same amount of hours, whether you are Elon Musk or Dan Cotton running Oregon Dream Teams. We all have 168 hours to work with in a given day or a given week, 24 hours a day, 7 days, and that's all we got. No one has any sort of time machine that I know of where they can get extra time. So how is it that you can leverage that 68 hours better? How is it that there are people out there that seem like they can do more with those hours than others? Well, one, the average American sleeps for about 8 hours a night, or tries to, which is 56 hours a week. So 56 hours of that 168 hours are gone for sleep. And sleep is really important. I don't want you to listen to any of the things I'm saying and say that I am encouraging you to not be healthy. I am not saying that at all. The average American sleeps 8 hours, but there are lots of people who sleep 9 and 10, and maybe you don't need that much. And we'll go into that a little bit more, but you can figure out what works for your sleep schedule. Now, I'm not a person who's going to recommend that you sleep 4 hours a night, although I've done that for years. As I get older, it's a little bit harder to do. But there are some things that just automatically come off of that 168 hours. The average person eats for around 30 minutes when they're preparing, like on average per meal. If you were to work a normal job, you would have 30 minutes for your meal. And so that coupled together gives you 10 and a half hours a week that are now gone from the 168 hours. So we're now just below 100 hours available to us. Now, I'm just talking about some critical things. There are other hours we're not even going to account for. Like there are hours that you are going to spend doing personal hygiene, taking showers, doing your hair, which we all know I don't have to do, brushing your teeth, those kind of things. There are things that have to get done. Things like doing laundry, things like cleaning your house, driving your kids to school. All of those things do exist as needs that need to get done depending on what happens in your life. So we're not going to necessarily talk too in depth about those. Just know that they exist. The average person spends 2.23 hours on social media, which equals out to 15.61 hours a week that people are spending on social media scrolling. Now, I'm going to just sidetrack for a second. That means that there are people on social media for you to sell to. Those people are scrolling and you can get in front of their eyeballs. So that's where your customer is. The average American is spending 15.6 hours of their week on social media. Am I going to sit here and say, get off of social media altogether? No, I'm not. Although I certainly would support you if you did, but it is hard to run a business if you're not on social media and you're not paying attention to it at all. The average American spends 2 hours a day on Netflix, which equals 14 hours per week. That is absolutely insane, the amount of hours that people are spending on Netflix. And I know there's people who spend more hours on Netflix. So those are just some of the distractions, some of the things. I'm not even going to go into, going out and drinking and partying, other unnecessary things. And this is where you have to decide, am I looking to be as productive as the people that I aspire to be like? You have to make that determination. It's not right for everyone. If you want to have a wonderful balance where you only work for 6 or 8 hours a day and then you don't think about work and you don't do work outside of that, then pursue that life. I'm talking to you about how I outwork and outpace people by setting up my life in a particular manner. And I just want to give you some of those numbers of things that you can do. So if we were to sleep half an hour less, get up a half an hour earlier. So you only sleep 7.5 hours versus 8. You take away that half an hour. So if you get up at 8 a.m., you get up at 7:30 a.m. Or if you're like me, you get up at 6:30 a.m., then you're getting up at 6. And getting up at 6 is not too abnormal for me. So there are times that I will get up a little bit earlier. But you get up a half an hour earlier. If you get up a half an hour earlier a day, you have added 182 hours to your year that you can now be accomplishing things. You can be working. You can be leveraging those hours more effectively where previously you were just asleep. Now, again, if you need sleep for your health and you have to get that extra half an hour, that's fair. But a half an hour for most people is not making a massive difference. And if that half an hour, that 182 hours of actual like awake working time, so you are getting more than a week's worth of hours, but you're not sharing those hours with eating or Netflix or anything else. You are just working for an additional 182 hours. Think what you could be accomplishing. That's crazy. So by just decreasing the amount of time that you're asleep, you can make a massive impact on your life. Now, on top of that, if we decrease the average social media use by half and the average Netflix or entertainment use by half, meaning we just go down to 1 hour a day each. Okay, so a total of 2 hours rather than 2 with one and 2 with the other, we add 730 hours to your year. 730 hours where you were scrolling, where you were watching Netflix, you now have added back to your life. So if you are a business owner who is feels like you're working incredibly hard, but you don't have time to be with your kids, but you're spending time on social media or on Netflix, then this might be the problem. 730 hours, waking hours you could have with your children just by decreasing the amount of time you're on social media and on Netflix, whether that be Netflix at night, so you're spending time with your kids, or social media during the day, so you're getting the work done that is pulling you away from your kids. You can utilize those hours, which means that in total, if you did those two things, you got up a half an hour earlier and you decreased your social media and your Netflix or entertainment stuff by 1 hour each a day, you would add 912 hours to your year. How crazy is that? 912 hours to your year that you are awake and working, not 912 hours that you're going to be sleeping and doing things during. These are pure hours that you can use without changing anything else. We've added 912 hours, which means you have added 5.43 weeks of working and pushing and driving your business forward, or spending time with your kids, or making a significant impact in your life. So that is how you can immediately get time back, by simply decreasing in marginal amounts the time that you're spending doing things that aren't driving you towards your goal. So number one is do a time audit. I am ruthless with my time, and I can get better at it, but I try to be absolutely ruthless with it. Do I watch Netflix? Yes, I do. I love movies. I am an Office fiend. I love The Office. I love my shows, but it's typically something that I put on at night. It's kind of my decompression 30 minutes. And Tori will tell you, I will watch 30 minutes of a show and then I am ready for bed. I am passing out and going to sleep. And then I sleep for about 6 hours a night. I sleep for my 6 hours, maybe 7. And then I'm up and I'm hitting the grind. I'm getting into the office and I'm on coaching calls, or I'm immediately starting work. I start every morning around 6 to 6:30, and I start with what I call maker time. That's me working on things that I can do. And I did not coin that term, but I use maker time, where I am working on my CEO style tasks, and I have it sectioned out for each business. So there are days that I'm working on Dream Camp's maker time. There are days that I'm working on Next Gen maker time, and there's less days that I'm doing ODT maker time, where I am working on things that need to be me, that need to be driving the business forward, that are my creative time, that are things that are pushing the company forward. Now, that's how I like to start my day. You don't necessarily have to start your day that way, but I am ruthless with my time. And people will tell you I will get a little bit frustrated if they try to make me deviate from my schedule too much, because I am so ruthless with my time, and it is what makes me highly efficient. I also do my best to make sure that I am focused on the task at hand and doing that task and that task only, and not getting distracted by the social media scrolling and those things. And I still do it. Man, those algorithms are good. They will suck you in. I'll go over to Facebook to respond to a message, or to send someone a message that is relevant to what I'm working on. And then the next thing I know, I've scrolled for a few minutes and I'm like, dang it. And I have to hit myself in the head and go, get back to it. You got to get back to that other task. Okay. We've talked about multitasking on the podcast before. It simply doesn't work. So number one is I am ruthless with my time. And I want you to think about that time that I just mentioned to you. And I showed you all of the pictures. If you're watching this, if you're listening, I was holding up pieces of paper to show those numbers. Number two is I have surrounded myself with a team of people that make it so I can be more productive. That is the biggest lever you can pull on to be more productive, is have people that can be doing other things, have their lanes of things that they are taking care of, so you don't have to do every single thing. I would not be able to do what I do with NextGen without an amazing team. I'm currently the COO, so I'm in charge of operations for NextGen. Danielle runs our marketing and our finances, and we work very hand in hand. Shelly runs all of our events. Rihanna's working on all of our website offerings and amazing things we do there. Justin is overseeing and managing sales. And then beyond that, we have a team of people who are working with us. So I now have subordinate people that I am reaching out to and saying, hey, you're going to be working on this project. Hey, you're going to be working on that project. So I'm not having to drive every ball across the finish line. I have to give clear enough instructions for them to start work and get moving. And then I sometimes have to help them get it across the finish line or delegate it to someone else. But I lean on my team. In the gym, I have Tori. I was fortunate enough to marry my wife and own the gym together. And she does a ton of the work in the business, a lot of the day-to-day stuff. So I'm not having to get into iClass Pro and do all of those things. I'm leaning on her to do some of the day-to-day, plus my front desk sales associate, which I've already talked about in another episode. We have an employee who runs our pro shop. We have an employee who's in charge of our tumbling program, an employee who's in charge of our stunting program. I keep a pretty tight rein on our all-star program. And we all kind of have our lanes, and I let people run the things that they're doing. We have consistent meetings, so we're all on the same page, and then we move forward. With Dream Camps, that is probably the one company that I am the most me involved in. And even then, I have brought on staff to help me throughout the year, a staff member to manage my staff and book all of their flights and do all those things, a staff member who's now helping me with sales. I've brought on people to help me with the administrative side, the back end tools. When I encounter a task that needs to get accomplished, I'm now at the point in productivity where I have to make the assessment, is this something that brings value by me doing it? Meaning I need to learn this skill to be a better owner, or would I be better served by hiring this out, by passing this task off to someone else who can probably get it done significantly faster than me, maybe a lot better than me, and if I'm really lucky, teach me along the way so I can learn those skills so I can be active in those conversations in the future. Or if the person is only fulfilling a contract, I can fulfill those needs later on. So that is my number 2 strategy, is surround yourself with a team. Surround yourself with a team of people who can help you, who can support you, who can take things off of your plate, which will allow you to be more productive and more efficient with your time. The last thing that I am always trying to do is I want to make sure that I have a destination in mind. We've talked about goal setting in the past. We've talked about plans in the past. I need to know where I'm going. I need to know the direction that I'm going to drive things forward. And if I do, I can move at a significantly faster pace because I'm not just guessing. I'm not going 3 steps forward and 10 steps back. I'm just continually moving forward. And even when I fail, because I know where I'm trying to get to, I can make that failure. I can iterate and get better and move towards that next thing even faster. So I have to have very clear destinations in mind, which can be a challenge, especially if you work with a team of people. If you have other owners or managers or people who have to be involved in the decisions, this is where having regular meetings and regular communication becomes so important. But by having that destination and everyone sharing the same vision and the same goal, you can move at a speed that most people can't imagine. So the strategies that we have done, number 1 is I find ways to leverage my time. I know I have the same hours that everyone else does. So how do I get more out of those hours? I eliminate distractions. I improve the output that I'm able to do because I am not doing things that are not driving my goal forward. Number 2, I surround myself with a team of people who can support me. And number 3, I make sure that I have a very clear destination in mind, and that destination is communicated to that team. And that's probably not the right order. These things all work in symbiosis with each other. So they need to be in harmony. They can't always, it's not like one came first, the chicken or the egg. They all have to be happening. The biggest thing though, is you have to be ruthless with your time and you have to look at the hours that you have in your day and how you are spending them. It is 100% healthy to do a regular time audit. And if you can, and you can get really ruthless with it, and you can even pay someone to audit your time for you, like I literally want you to sit here and watch me for a week and tell me, like, I want you to note how many times I get distracted and go over to Facebook and start scrolling, or how many times I hop onto Instagram and start scrolling, or how many times I get sucked into the TikTok algorithms. That can totally happen. And so if you are diligent about it and you hold yourself accountable and you're honest, you can do it yourself. And I've done it myself before, but doing that time on it is always healthy. As you're going to find that there are different seasons in life where you are really motivated and really moving towards something. And then other times where you're maybe a little bit more distracted, you're feeling a little bit more bored. And it's oftentimes in those times where you are bored that you neglect things. You feel like you're not getting as much out of the day. You're working a ton, but accomplishing nothing. And those are very critical times for you to dive in and really get good at doing the thing that's boring, because it's likely that that boring thing is driving your business forward in a really significant way. The things that are new and exciting are probably not going to have the impact on your business until the point that they become boring, right? Starting something new is really, really fun and really, really exciting. We're launching a camp in Texas. It's really exciting to start a new camp, but guess what? Registrations are low. And so it's probably not going to be a profit generator for my company this year. Maybe it will, but we'll see. But it's doing the boring work that's going to drive that across the finish line. It's sending the emails, it's following up, it's making the sales calls. It's all of those other things that are going to really drive that forward. So sometimes the boring work is what you need to be doing so you can actually propel your business forward. And if you're not good at it, find someone who is, find someone who enjoys it, and delegate those tasks to them. So ultimately, I am not a unicorn, and I'm probably going to do a whole nother episode on this. I've wanted to talk about this before. Danielle is not a unicorn. Shelly is not a unicorn. Rihanna is not a unicorn. We're not special. We are products of what we have learned. We are products of how we have held each other and ourselves accountable. We have accomplished what we have because we've continued to evolve and grow. I've always done a lot in my life, and that probably set me up for being highly productive. You know, I was in cheer and theater and ROTC in college, and I was always juggling a million different plates, and it has served me well as an entrepreneur doing a number of different things. But you don't have to be that person. In fact, you could argue that being focused on just one thing, laser focused on your one thing. So if you just own a cheer gym, be laser focused on that cheer gym and growing that cheer gym and accomplishing one task at a time. Just crush it. And if you do that, you'll actually find that you are more productive with your time, and you're oftentimes able to scale faster than people like me who are distracted and doing three different things. I'm running three different companies. Now, I manage my distraction. I mitigate my distraction by being ruthless with my time, by scheduling my calendar effectively, by having a team that supports me and has my back, and by having a very clear direction. But those people who are just ruthlessly focused on one thing can get somewhere really, really fast and really, really far. So as you leave the episode, what I want you to do, and I know I've kind of rambled, I'm feeling very hyped today about this subject. I want you to leave the episode, and if you haven't done a time audit in the last 3 months, I want you to do one. And a time audit should include everything you do in a day, to include sleeping. And you should do it for at least a week, ideally 2, that you're auditing your time. I slept from this time to this time. It can even be I laid in bed at 9 p.m., but I didn't fall asleep until 11 p.m. And I laid in bed from 9 to 11 watching Netflix. Well, that might be an area of improvement. What do you need to do to be able to fall asleep at 9 so you can get up earlier? Or, you know, what are those things that you need to be doing to align with your goals? So audit your time, write down every single thing that you do. You can even get down to the minute, the 5 minutes of, like, you find yourself, oh, I was supposed to be working on this project, but then I saw myself on Facebook. Shoot, I've got to write down how long I was on Facebook. There are some applications that will track what you do on your computer. You can check some of those out if you're interested in it, but audit your time, be really aggressive about it. And it's okay. Like, I'm not telling you can't have personal time. I have an entire block in my schedule in the middle of the day that is for eating lunch, working out, and spending time with Tori. And that is important for me. It helps set my day correctly. I enjoy it very much. I need to work out. It sets my mindset. I need to eat because I generally fast in the morning, and I need to spend time with my wife. And I try not to talk business, although unfortunately, you guys know I love business, so I end up talking about it. But those things are okay to have in your schedule. You just need to figure out how to balance it and make sure that you're utilizing your time efficiently to get you towards your goals. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are looking to learn more, I highly recommend you get to our conference in Vegas in January of 2025. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. We have coaches tracks, owners tracks, managers tracks. We have too many darn tracks. It's crazy. There's so many different things you can learn. You can get over a year's worth of learning attending this event. So make sure you are there. If you're interested in joining the academy and you're interested in having a coach like me, someone trained by me to coach you on how to run your gym, then please reach out. We have a team ready to talk to you, answer your questions, and help you learn what joining the academy really is. And if you're not ready to join the academy, please get into our free Facebook groups. We have cheer gym owners on Facebook and all-star cheer coaches and owners on Facebook as well. Those are not being in the academy. We actually have a paid group that has its own private Facebook, own private communications, and way more than what you get in those free Facebook groups, although you can get immense value out of them. And if you are looking to join the academy, but you're not quite sure if you're ready yet, make sure you check out Danielle's book, The Cheer Gym Owner's Handbook, and my book when it comes out sometime in January, but I'm not going to tell you the title of it just yet. But if you're looking to set pricing for your gym, it's going to be a great read for you. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.